So CDDs are release orchestration tool. And in that release orchestration, we can plan for many releases. And in the release, we can track multiple applications. We can use like different deployments, like web application, database deployments, mobile apps, and everything, and build them, put them together in one single release, and we can plan the deployments of each environment. So I'm just going to give you a high level of what CDD is. So we can plan for deployments to SIT, UAT, pre-prod, and prod, and we can define when it can go. We can schedule it, we can do it manual deployments, and we can do multiple releases of different applications, right? So the feature that Beverly talked about was a release track. So in the release orchestration world, where we have like multiple applications which are interdependent on each other, we want to make sure that we can deploy all of them together. And if there is an application, let's say if my mobile application is dependent upon my API application, and API is dependent upon database, so I can do that dependency and configure that dependency and put it into one track, one dashboard, where I can track all of my releases together. So let's say I have 3 releases here, which is a banking application, which is a web and a web application and a dummy application that I'm deploying. So I can add all of these to a track. So I have created a track called live demo, and I can select the deployment phase. So here I'm only going to select the product deployment as a production, but I can add multiple stages and everything. So when we are adding stage, we can define the milestones. So milestone can be anything like UAT sign off, or let's say pre-prod sign off, or something like that. For this demo, I'm just planning for a simple security validation. So before I do my prod deployment, I just want to make sure that my security validation milestone is complete. So I'll use this release as my base, and I'll put it into a track. So similarly, I can add all of my releases that I'm planning to release in a certain window. So when you are doing a release track and you are doing a deployment to pre-prod or production environment, you can define the timeline where you want to do the pre-prod and production deployment. So I'll just quickly add each of the application, each of the release to the track. So once I've added this, I go to my track, and I can see in the track a single place where all of my releases are giving the status of all of my releases, where the deployment happened, and what was the status, and what is pending. So I don't have to go to each individual releases and look into each release status, like what is the deployment status for pre-prod or prod. So having a single dashboard helps me, enables me to have an option to look for each and every release and all the application that is dependent on each other, the status, and what is pending.
You know, that makes it really easy to know as a release manager that it's met certain milestones. If it hasn't met those, we didn't go through all the setup of the dependencies and things like that, but you can set that up as well. One place to basically automate and launch your kind of full releases end-to-end, because you never really just release one thing, right? There's a lot of things that are usually happening in that release window or timeline. So we're going to spend a little bit of time as well talking about Agile Requirements Designer. So this was earlier when we introduced model-based testing. This is what we were talking about, right? I basically will outline the behavior. This is a very simplified model, but an application, an API, whatever it is that you're working on or you're trying to test, will be able to define the flow or process of how it should behave. I may have certain data criteria and other things as well, right? Maybe there's a different process if I have under a certain balance versus over a certain balance. Or maybe I could have different kinds of accounts or different so brokerage, checking, savings. I could have different kinds of statuses, right? There's different kinds of behavior that I might have in my system. I want to define my system end to end in terms of the behavior. This way I can both generate all of the tests I need. I could say maybe if I'm changing a certain area, I know that I want to really test that area that has changed. Maybe everything else I want to have an edge, like an edge case, right? I want every node to be hit, but I don't need hundreds or thousands of tests to run in order to do that, right? So how do I get the right coverage that I need so I can get my results quickly, but so that I'm not missing anything? And this is something that we uniquely solve with model-based testing. The other piece that's really important is maintenance. When something changes, I don't want to have to review all of the different tests and or find out my test failed, or worse if they passed and they shouldn't, right? It's because of the system change, right? I need to be able to automatically kind of do that. And so my testing, I am confident I've passed what I need to pass. And so this is what ARD really helps resolve. A picture is worth 1,000 words is what, like one of our customers said that. Is basically, I can see it. I know how the system behaves. It sort of changes how you think about testing, right? I can see it. I know how the system behaves. But then I also get all that benefit of if something's not working in the system, I understand, is it because we don't have the right expectations, right? I, in product, have worked with engineering, right? We don't always, we're speaking the same words, but we're not always aligned, right? How do I know? Well, if I show them, we're aligned, right? Now, the other piece, which is really important with ARD, is that it integrates with the other systems that you want to use. Right? So I can put my automation framework of choice, it is automation agnostic, on each of these processes. And some processes could even be its own subflow. For example, login. That's probably common, right? There's probably a common process to logging in across multiple different applications, right? That could have its own process, right? That I don't have to define all the behavior of login, right? So there could be also other things that are sub-processes. But I can put in whatever language of choice, and I can also generate, it interacts with our TDM, right? I can synthetically generate the data I need. I can even reserve the data I need. So for my testing, I may need certain criteria or conditions. I want to reserve it so that anyone else looking in the TDM system does not see that data that I'm about to use, because I may change the status of something in the process of using that data, right? And then it can interact as well with its plugin framework. It has this extensive flexibility. Maybe you put your test cases in a certain place. Maybe you use something like an ALM or a Jira or a Rally, right? I can integrate with all of the systems that I would use via the plugin framework. And so that's sort of a high level. And we're going to talk about some of the capabilities in a minute around what we're doing with AI. Right? So I'm going to, I guess, right now, go back.
So before we start, do we have any ARD? Yeah. So do we have any ARD customers, ARD users here?
I don't think here we do.
Yeah. So why the model-based testing is important in this word is you will have a user story, and there would be a lot of dependency on the product owners, product managers to provide the feedback based on how we understand understand what the user story talks about, what is definition of done, what is the acceptance criteria. So there's a lot of ambiguity around understanding what a product feature is actually, the product owner is actually looking for in terms of a feature that he or she wants to add in the product, right? So whenever we do it manually or we talk to developers and testers, they will have their own image, they will have their own understanding, then they have to go back and forth with the product owners. So what this model-based testing enables the end user is, based on the user story, based on the feature that they are designing, they can create a model out of it. So model creating itself doesn't solve the main challenge. The main challenge is generating the test case. What are the test data associated so that my testers can get the correct test data and my developers can get the correct data? And what if we can generate the automation logic? Let's say we have to generate Gherkin script or Java Selenium code, or it can be any of the code snippet that my developers or testers need to test a particular test case. So with the help of model-based testing, we are giving all of these information, TDD information, behavior-driven information, all of this on day one of your development. As soon as a new feature is required, in the product owner, product manager gives you that feature. And all we do is we provide and we create the model assign the scripts and the gherkin and the test data to it, and we can generate all of that. So this was one of the product that we thought, why not use AI into it? Why AI is the need of the hour. Like, we need to have AI enabled into our product so that it can help build these models and build this gherkin script test data very quickly without investing time on doing the modeling of a particular user story. All we do is provide that AI, that prompt. So giving that, this is my user story, can you please create a model out of it? And now with the help of that AI integration, we can build a model and we can generate the automation configuration, generate the test data, so that you are investing even less time on understanding the user story, and you can just simply give that model, give that flowchart diagram to your product owner and get the feedback instantly. So that is how quickly the AI world is evolving, and we just want to make sure that we can leverage the LLMs that are available. So for the demo purpose, I'm just going to use Google because that is what was allowed from a Broadcom internal perspective. So what I'm doing is, we have a very beautiful plugin framework which is leveraging the AI integration. We use LLM's API, and we provide the data to the LLM, and LLM provides us the data back in the form of an API, and we convert that into a model. So that is how on a high level it is. So let me quickly show you. So we have developed a chatbot. So here, as you can see, we have a chatbot where I hope you can see, right? Yeah, so it's on the right hand side. So I have asked that. So it's an early beta release. So it's going to be released soon, this new AI version. So the chatbot is going to go up a little bit. So what we are looking for is, we can import. Let's say I am doing my testing, a feature file testing, behavior driven. So I just want to make sure that, can I create a model out of it? So or let's say if I have a user story. So let me start with the user story first. So in my rally, so the best part of the product is, whenever you have created a model, whenever you have integrated the test data, you can directly upload it to rallies and Jiras and Azure DevOps of the world. And on your day one of your development or day one of your new feature launch, you have all of this data available in rallies, Jiras, and Azure DevOps, and you don't have to go anywhere look for it. And we have a very good ARD hub where you can version control based on the requirement. So let's say 1 month or 2 months down the line, there's a change in requirement, and you want to look back at what was previously developed and what is the new development that has been done. So there is a version control available using ARD hub, which not only maintains the model, it also maintains the automation configuration that is attached to the model. So it's very good for sharing the data. So what I'm doing is, I'm just copying the user story, and I'm telling my chatbot that I want to create a new model from user story. And I just give that to my chatbot, saying, please create. So at the end, you can see, if you cannot see, please create a model and I'll hit send. So basically, I'm just asking let me re-authenticate. Yeah. So new chat, and yep. So please create a model. So what I'm doing is, I'm providing that instruction to my chatbot. So it is just like you're talking to an LLM, providing that input that you do with OpenAI or Gemini or whatever. You are providing that information that you need help with certain code or something. So similarly, I'm doing the same information, the feature file and everything, and automatically with the help of API. So it is leveraging the API of the LLMs, and it is creating that model. So I can update and look at the model. And as you can see, it has created the model for me, full-fledged. So because I don't have enough, I'll show how we can integrate with, let's say if you have a feature file already written and you want to see that you're doing testing correctly or not, so you can create a model out of it. It can import images also. So let's say if you're working with product owners and developers and testers are working in a room and have written something or designed some sort of a flow chart in a room and they want to create a model out of it, we can do that. So import can be anything. It can be feature file, Java code, anything. And it's the same chat window. So it preserves the chat and you can keep on updating this model based on the feedback that you're providing. So it's not only just creating, it has a capability to update it. You have ask feature. Asking meaning you can ask the chatbot about a certain feature if it is available or not. You can create a full-fledged new flow using the chatbot. So we do support a lot more capabilities. Now, if I am satisfied with this model, or if I want to update, I can add a scenario where add one more condition for checking account. So I'll just add one more condition and I'll just say to ChatGPT that I want to add one more scenario for a checking account, and it will understand again that yes, one more scenario is required for checking account, and it just added it, right? So we are working on the alignment part. That is something which we are doing, but at the end of the day, it would automatically give you this model. So previously it had money market and saving. Now it has check-in account also added. So this is the beauty of AI. So what we are doing, we are leveraging the LLMs that is already present, and we are creating a model out of it. So we have tested it for Gemini, but we would love to work with customers who are using OpenAPI or any other LLMs so that we can expand the integration. So as of now, we do support Gemini, but like we can develop plugin for any LLMs. So that's just an intro.
Yeah, I'm going to add a little bit of context as well. In fact, we're going to feed into some of the AI, so I think you'll be able to ask some questions. Can we go back to the PowerPoint? Because I have a few more slides. But you can also say, hey, I also want it to generate the automation, right? I'd like to use this language of choice. Hey, I also have these data conditions. I want you to parameterize and handle these data conditions, right? AI is particularly good, right, at being able to, it's getting a lot better at its ability to create tests.
Yeah.
However, right, you're probably, if anyone has used it, has anyone used AI for testing at all? Has anyone tried it? Oh, wow. Okay, yes. Why would I use AI? Because we're leveraging it, right, as well, is already able to take a lot of that input and generate a lot of useful information, right? It's able to generate a lot of this tests and things. But there is still a lot that's dependent on context, right? And we're still at a point that things have to be reviewed. And we're also at a point that if I have to change an application, I may then have to, it increases the maintenance, right? So rather than reviewing hundreds or thousands of different automated tests that have been created, I have one model that outlines the behavior, and I can easily see is something missing or not missing. And as I review the automation, I have one space to look at it. And then again, it can be parameterized with the different test data, but I can look at that, right? Do I have the right kind of data conditions? So it simplifies. So what ARD has always been good at is simplifying the overall management of managing tests and test cases overall. That doesn't go away with AI. It actually, I think, increases that problem because you're going to have a lot more people going into a system, potentially not understanding, taking it as is. As the system changes, they may or may not be updating the right test cases the way they need, and they may not have full understanding if they've really covered the system end to end. And here you get all the advantages of what AI can build and generate, but you have reduced the amount of effort to understand the system overall. You're still getting the benefit of being able to ask questions about how the system works. And we gave an example of the user story, and you gave that example too. But you could also, right, it's connecting with your AI engine, right? We're using like what kind of an open plugin framework. We may have interacted with some, but it is extensible. Customers have the ability to extend our plugin frameworks. And so it could be your specs. It could be your code. It could be, it could be whatever you are allowing our system to be able to interact with whatever your AI is of choice. So we're basically, what I'm trying to show is we're taking those inputs in, and we're generating the model with the data, the automation, the test cases.
So I just want to add, so testing comes after you have clear requirements, right? So here, ARD, what it does is it understands your requirement and gives you like a flowchart kind of a thing. Along with that, it gives you the data that you need. So when you say data, when you say automation, that means that I can generate the feature file that you need for your development. I can generate the Selenium so that you don't have to worry about generating the Selenium files. I can generate that for you. I can import the image that you want the Selenium testing to be done for, and I can generate that particular code for it. So it's not like a solution where you have to rely on any other like product. We just have a single place where you can not only maintain the version, but you can talk and improve how you can better support a certain feature. So that is something which really helps before even the development has started. So it helps the product owner, it helps the feature owners that yes, there is something that needs to be improved from from the feature wise, and then they can update as and when there is a requirement change.
ARD has a learning curve. It's a different way of thinking. And so we didn't highlight that because I don't think a lot of people here are familiar with ARD like you are. But this does actually address that learning curve significantly. But what's your question? CDD has some of that, but ARD does not yet. But that is definite. So ARD can feed in the inputs and help create the model, and you could determine your coverage level. But you're saying, which of these tests do I want to run first? That is something we're also looking at as kind of an iteration of the capabilities here, because AI also can help us in that, in some of that prioritization and some of the classifying. So you're exactly on the right direction of where we're going. I didn't highlight the whole roadmap for ARD. We just wanted to show a little bit because we don't have a lot of people here using it today. In some places we do double sessions on it, right? But for today we did just a small, just so you know what it is. But that's part of the direction. Yeah.
So that is the end goal. Like we want to make sure that automatically it understands and fixes the problem that is there in the model. So that is something we can do. We have to type with the chat that fix this particular flow, which I could have shown. Like we can fix a particular flow if something is changing or process block or something that is.
Well, this is the coverage area.
The coverage area. Yeah. So that is something which we are going towards. So that is something which we are looking at.
Oh, well, we could, from generating the right data scenarios, we may be able to significantly address that as well with this first iteration.
This is available,
I was talking about the data coverage of saying, I want the specific test, but if you're saying, hey, I need to make sure I have the right data conditions, that we can do, right? It's just the order in which those run is, So, but this is with AI.
So when we did that, the POC initial, like I was part of the POC, right? So I know like there was a main challenge of doing the configuration of automation and then do all of that, right? So that is why we went towards AI to remove all of that dependency, all of that manual effort, and automatically create you that. And yes, there would be some tweaking required at the end of the day, but it's AI, right? It would not give you 100% model that you need, but it will give you up to a certain percentage, and then you just add on the scenarios that you think that should be part of it, and then it will learn and it will give you a better model next time. So that is the beauty of AI. So that is where we can upload the flow, we can edit the flow. It learns.
It can retain the context.
It retain the context. Yeah, that is something which AI helps you. Like if the model is not correct now, but based on the learnings, it will give you a correct model. So I've been working with it like 3-4 months. So it's giving me a better model every time that I provide the input, right? So that is how the learning curve is.
Okay, one more question because we have a few more things before we split into rooms. It's going to be based on how, I'm sure you've noticed this, right? But how you prompt it does matter, right? But it is context dependent, so it can continue to learn. It also depends on what the source is, right? A user story is going to be a little, it's not necessarily as accurate as if I have like a spec or I have what the code is, right? What it can understand and what it can create, right? So it is going to be dependent, just like it would be if you're using, any sort of code assist or any sort of LLM, right? It's going to be dependent on kind of what you put into it. So there are recommendations there. We do have a few customers that are helping us with early validation to make sure for their use cases, and they have very complex use cases. These are not, they're real users of our solution.
Yes.
Before, that's going to be kind of once it's confirmed, that's kind of where we're going to release. We're getting very close, right? There's a few visual things we want to fix, and there's a few other things, but the prompting matters, just like it would if you were trying to create your tests, right? So that does matter.
And also we're targeting different LLMs based on the output and feedback that we're getting. So it's going to reach the level, but we need a lot of help from our customers who are actually end users and have been using ARD for a very long time. So those are the ones that would provide the correct feedback for this.
Yep,
So, yeah.
but it's going to help everyone.
Yeah.
So we're really excited. It's not far on the horizon. I did want to highlight a little bit more. Oh, and I think there's pieces I'm going to have it all set up. So we've talked about ARD. I'm going to skip that, right? And there's more to it. But let's also talk about TDM and SV, right? And there's a few different things that we see in this area, right? For virtual services, the first area that we're really starting out is we've got a lot of our developers and things using different code assist technologies, right? We're going to look at how can they basically define in the code assist, automatically create the virtual service or update the virtual service that they need. They can reference what is the system as well, right? So it could even have some of that context. Make it easier to really expand that self-service, right, that we're talking about, right? You could have it create a new virtual service, or you could have it even update or modify an existing virtual service, right? Being able to streamline that process from a code assist, right? We also are looking from a data perspective. I'm going to skip the ARD stuff and jump a little bit into some of the things we're looking at. We have a number of different things for our vision for TDM in terms of getting the right kind of data. One is augmenting synthetic data generation, which even today, if you look at AI, it is able to do a lot of the simpler use cases. As you start to add the complexity, there are challenges. We are uniquely positioned, though, because we already understand the complexity and the relationships of these systems to be able to help address that. So that's going to be an area you're going to see a lot of work happening. We're going to talk about adaptive subset, I think, in the TDM session, so I'm not going to spend more time on that. But that's if I have characteristics that I need data for. So maybe I'm looking at education level, right? And it's, did they graduate? Did they, do they have associates? Do they have a bachelor's? Do they have master's, doctorate, right? I might have that in some other kind of criteria, and I need to make sure I have enough of that data across, distributed correctly in my lower environments, right? Using things like clustering and things to find out and be able to capture that and bring that kind of data into my lower environments, right? Things like PII detection, and also looking at things like privacy. Can I look up information and get real information but not have any PII exposed, anything that could make me relate back, I would be able to detect a real individual, right? So there's a lot of capabilities that we're working on in terms of the kind of vision and direction for how we can do AI for TDM. And for timing, I'm going to let's answer a few questions, and then I think we have to split rooms because I think I am running a little bit behind at this point. So any questions about kind of our vision or direction of where we're going? Yeah, we can host, if you need a deeper roadmap. Like I said, these have been subsets almost, right? I've pulled out core information. Each of these have a much longer roadmap that I didn't have. I could spend 4 hours doing a roadmap for each of these products if you put them together. So I pulled out information. But if there's something we want to deep dive into, either a specific topic or kind of overall direction or some thoughts, we can work on getting something like that set up. And a few of these topics we're going to dig into a little bit deeper, but I think some of them there maybe require even further discussion.